So, welcome to today's video. Today I'm making a video about brush care and repair. I asked a while ago if this is something you would be interested in seeing a video, and the answers I got were all yes, please do make a video about it. So here is the video about brush care and repair. So first thing, there are some things that you can do to ensure that your brush gets not that much damaged or lesser damaged. First thing is have one brush that you are using just to take your color out of the pans or the palette, and just use it to put your colors onto your palette for mixing, or to dilute it with water to get the lightness or darkness shade you're wanting to achieve. The thing is, why having a brush only for that is, especially with pans that are smaller, like half pans or even quarter or 1/8 pans like this, you are boxing always at the corners, and the same happens even with bigger ones when you have big holes or dents like this one here. Then your brush will automatically box on the edges, and that of course will damage your brush. This brush is mine that I'm using just to take color out, and it looks like a normal round brush, but it once had a fine tip like the one here, which is from the same set, and you can see that this one has a fine tip, and this is completely broken off of this one, because this is the brush I'm always using just for getting my colors out of the pans. It damages your brushes, definitely. So that is why I personally highly recommend having just one brush that you are using to getting your colors out, so that you are not damaging the brushes you are coloring with, so that you have the tip not breaking off, and that they will be in shape longer that way, so that you lessen the damage, or having longer the brush like it is, so that you can using it, for example, to say I have to get in very small nooks and crannies, which just won't be possible with a brush like that, where the tip is completely broken off. If you are, for example, coloring straight at a line or so, I would always color over with a brush like that, which doesn't have its tip anymore. So yeah, I'm having one brush for that, just because it damages your brushes. I never go in pans with my calligraphy brushes, exactly for that reason, because those are used because they have this fine tip where I can draw fine lines, draw straight at a line, or get in very small nooks and crannies just to get the details done. If the tip would completely break off, it would be a disaster. So that's why have an extra brush for that. And use extra brushes for glitter and metallic colors. I mentioned that in my video about metallic and glitter watercolors. already, but use an extra brush for that, because the glitter particles, sometimes those colors have bigger glitter particles, and these bigger particles, they are like sandpaper, for example. They are damaging the bristles as well. So I highly recommend using, for getting your colors out or for glitter and metallics, using either older brushes that aren't in good shape anymore already, or using cheap brushes where it's not that terrible when the longevity is not that high. Yeah, also the glitter particles really stick to the bristles. Even with very good washing, you will always have some glitter particles left on your brush, and it can happen that if you are going with the same brush that last time you used for some metallic watercolors and doing a portrait, then you have a sparkling face just because some of those glitter particles that stuck to the brush now are on the paper. To prevent that, that is also a reason why I say it's better to use brushes just for glitter and metallic watercolors. Not only because the damaging is stronger with glitter and metallics than normal watercolors, but also for that reason. So that is the first thing, of course, you can do to ensure the longevity of your brushes, to reduce the damage that is done to your brush just for that. The second thing is storage. For example, I have like a box where it is meant to put, for example, pencils and stuff in. I have a few, it's a big box with smaller compartments, and in some of them I have, for example, fine liners and other stuff that I'm using for art. And in some I have brushes, and I always put them in so that they are standing upright with the bristles on top. Never, even if they have a cap on it, put them with the bristles downwards. That is definitely something that will very, very much damage your brushes. Of course, you could also have an area where you just put them like that and lay them down, depending on what you prefer. Or with brushes like calligraphy brushes, you have this here that you can put it on a hook. There are special little hangers that you can buy, where you can, of course, also put them on. Then they are hanging free. It is, of course, they are downwards that way, but they are not hitting something. They are just roaming free. So that is also, of course, okay to do. Storage, and also when usage, don't ever put your brushes in your water bucket that way and just let it stand that way to soak for cleaning, or to soak when they are new and still have the glue in it. If you have a new brush and you want to get the glue out, then do it very carefully. I always turn the brush, wash it out. You can also do it, of course, under in the sink when you put on the water tap. You can use lukewarm water. That helps to get the glue out, but never hot water. That's not good for a lot of hair types. So only lukewarm is okay. I normally I use cold water and just take my time to wash it out. That's very, very important, because if you are putting it like that in a bucket and letting it soak for a while, if it is for cleaning or to getting the glue out, then this will definitely damage your bristles, and it can definitely damage the tip of your brush. So that is another thing. Then there is the cleaning part. Of course, after we are using our brush and are done, the brushes are being washed out. Hopefully. I heard from people doing not even that and putting it just like it is with the color in it in the storage. That is something I highly recommend not doing, because that definitely will damage your brush as well. First off, depending on what medium you're using, I expect now using of course watercolors, but that is something that also goes for other mediums. Some medium are slightly acidic, some mediums are slightly the opposite. Oh, gosh, what's I do know the word, but sometimes I just forget those. Sorry, I have to Google it. So sorry about that. Alkaline. Slightly alkalidish. I don't know. Please let me know what's the correct form. But these, of course, if you are just letting it rest for days or weeks with the color in it, it can damage the hair. With that being slightly, for example, acidic. Of course, if you put some acid on something, it will get damaged. And even if it's just slightly acidic, it can damage it, because hairs are very, very sensitive. So that is the first thing. Of course, we are washing it out. But also every once in a while, depending on how often you're using your brush, how much you're drawing and coloring with them, I highly recommend using a special brush soap. To be honest, I don't think the brand matters that much. I have mine here from Da Vinci, because this one is the cheapest I could get in Germany. This is a German brand that also makes brushes, a very good company. To be honest, my first ever watercolor brushes when I was a child were from Da Vinci, so I have my first colors were from Schminke, and my first brushes were from Da Vinci, so the companies do have a special place in my heart. But like I said, in Germany, this one is the cheapest. I have bought it for 90 cents, so not even €1 for this, and it's a very big chunk of a soap, and mine is already like nearly 10 years old, and you can see it looks nearly new, because you don't need a lot of soap for our small brushes, so that will last you like forever. So what do I do? Brushes that I don't use very often, I would say I wash out with the soap maybe every half year. Brushes I do use very much, maybe every quarter. What I do is I have the dirty area, and you can see that even if you're cleaning out your brush with water, that is something you can see there's still dirt and color in it, even if you're washing it out with water. So I wet my brush, getting it on my dirty area, wash it out, then wash it out in the water, and then repeat it on the clean area, so that I really am sure that no color is coming out anymore. Because, and that's the thing, especially here, I don't know how it's called in English, this part, in Germany it's called Zwinge, this part that holds basically the bristles. Here at the top, we often have the problem that normal washing doesn't get out all the pigments that are stuck here. And those, if they are getting more and more, putting the hairs, of course, to the side, pushing the hairs to the side. If you have enough color in it, the hairs will go to the sides. And that is something we want not to happen. So that is why regularly or irregularly cleaning your bristles out with a brush soap is something that is important. Of course, I also use a special area, as you can see, for the glitters down here. Don't know if you can see, but yeah, there are some glitter particles left here that are stuck. So metallic or glitter brushes are also a different area I'm using for that. So I don't have a cross-contamination problem. So yeah, that is one thing. Storage, how the brushes are used, regularly or irregularly, but cleaning every once in a while is the important thing. But what do I do if my brushes are just not getting in shape anymore that way, or am maybe damaged due to traveling, or if you moved houses or flats or something like that? I had one of my sorry, old Da Vinci brushes, what was a round brush, in moving the cap, fall off somewhere, and the bristles got completely separated, like this. It looked, in the end, it looked like this. And it was stuck like this. It was a nylon brush. So what can I do with nylon brushes is I'm using hot water. And please, here, you have absolutely to be super careful to not burn yourself. Dip it in hot water and then shape it again with your fingers. Only with nylon brushes. Yes? No, not doing hot water with synthetic hair or with genuine hair brushes, because those do not well with hot water. But the nylon brushes, you can reshape them. And to be honest, the split brush, I never thought it would work that well. But in the end, I did dip it, reshape it, and after 2 minutes or so, it looked like new. I was totally stunned that this brush, I thought that brush is at a point of no repair. So I was really, really, really surprised that I could repair the brush. So yeah, that is something you can do with the nylon brushes. Of course, we also have synthetic hair or genuine hair brushes, and here the thing is a little bit different because, like I said, they don't do well with the hot water. We have to do the brush repair and care a little bit differently. If the hot water doesn't work anymore for the nylon brushes, you could also do the same as we are doing with genuine hair or synthetic hair brushes. To be said, I only own one synthetic hair brush, which came with my Agallo watercolor set, and I barely use it because I'm so in love with my calligraphy brushes, and that's 99% of the brushes I'm using. So I don't have the experience with the synthetic hair brushes, and I looked back then when I started with the brush care in the internet for different hair types, and I looked up multiple times synthetic hair, and the thing is, you find a lot of information about brush care for genuine hair and for nylon hair, but you're finding barely any information about special hair care only for synthetic hair. So I'm assuming that whatever I do with the genuine hair also works well with the gosh, synthetic hair. It's definitely a word I hate saying in English. The synthetic hair is meant to be mimicking the genuine hair, so that's why I assume that this works well, and whatever I'm doing with the genuine hair is something that works with all hairs. That is not something that can damage any hair, so you won't be able to damage it that way. Like I said, the hot water is a different thing that only do with the nylon brushes, never with the other hair types, because those don't do well with it. But the thing I'm explaining now for repair and care with the genuine hair definitely works for all hair types. I'm doing it with nylon brushes whenever the hot water doesn't work. The water does work well if they are deformed. It works also if it's a little bit out of shape. But if it's the hair already is damaged a lot, like with these two here, for example, and they are very, very old and frizzy, and if they have that state, the hot water just doesn't work anymore. So brush care is then the same as here. But in my personal experience is that nylon hair brushes have a very short living time in comparison to genuine hair brushes, especially if the nylon brushes are these finer ones. If you are working a lot, I have used them in the past before I started using calligraphy brushes, and I had to replace them probably once a year. So they lasted maybe for a year if I'm really, really, really took it to the maximum I could use them. Others would probably have replaced them far sooner. But genuine hair brushes, if you do care good for them, they can last you for decades. I know people that have basically gotten the brushes from their parents after they stopped doing art because of problems with the hands or so, or gotten too sick to do, or have died, and they gave basically their brushes they have already used for 20 years to their daughters or sons, and they have used them for many, many years after that. So yeah, if you do care for them and repair them every once in a while, they will last you for decades. I know that those are cheaper to buy initially, but over the long run, those definitely are the cheaper ones. Because if I am buying a brush like that for €2 and having it for 20 years or more, or buying a brush like that for 50 cents every year, then I have spent for one brush size, at least in 20 years, €20 here and still €2 here. So yeah, those are initially cheaper, but those last you a lot longer. Of course, if you don't want to use genuine hair, that's because you're vegan or just don't want to use genuine hair, that's totally fine. I think that synthetic hair, I don't know how long they last, but they last definitely longer than those nylon brushes. So if you have personal experience with brush care or with the longevity of your synthetic hair, please let me know in the comments, because like I said, I'm not using those. Those are just, the good ones are just too expensive for me. I'm basically a pensioner already, even if I'm not that old, because due to my health situation. So my Financial capacities are limited because I can't work anymore. So I'm not at a position to buy synthetic hair brushes where one brush costs 20, 30, 40, 50 euros. That's just too expensive for me. So that's why I'm not using those, and I'm also loving using my genuine hair brushes. But if you're using synthetic hair, that's totally valid. Just do know that I don't really have the experience, because I also couldn't find any information in the internet about it from other users. So if you have those your experiences with it, I would very, very glad and grateful to know that for future videos and future questions I got asked. And also to deepen my personal knowledge. I'm always trying to learn new stuff. So yeah, that to the side. Now, how do we care and repair those brushes? That is something we will now discuss. So, okay. I personally do look that if your brush in a dry state is good in shape, then it's okay. But after a while, they're getting completely out of shape. So I haven't repaired this one yet because I wanted to have a demonstration one for my video. So this one is my oldest calligraphy brush. It all started with this one. That was my first good one, and I have it for many, many years. Every once in a while I have already dipped it, but now it is again at the point where I say it should get some brush repair. And what we are doing is, with brushes that are out of shape or that have gotten damaged due to moving, or in this case it arrived completely bent because the envelope it was in was too small. So those are all arrived damaged. What we are doing is, after we have cleaned it completely with water and soap, which in this case it was never used, there is no color in it, I just have to wash it out, the glue. We will dip it in gum arabic. I do have now a small bottle because normally I have my own gum arabic that I'm doing make from gum arabic powder, but even with etheric oils, which help to preserve the gum arabic so that it doesn't mold, it will normally, the last times I had a big glass, or marmalade glass I'm cooking it out for disinfection, and then doing my gum arabic oil mix in it. And it lasted, I think, 2 years or so, then it got bad. But at the moment I am at the point that it has gone bad, and I had to do a new batch, and that will need a while until everything is, all the powder really was soluble with the water. I don't know how to explain it at the moment, but I think you know what I mean. And not that the powder is not down. It always needs a while until it's completely done. So for times like that, I do have a small bottle, whatever brand I'm getting my hands on cheap, that will last for many, many years. So normally I don't need a lot. So just look up what brand is cheapest available at your place, or doing at your own. If you want to have a video at how to do watercolor binder slash gum arabic solution for repair, then please let me know in the comments. I can do a video about that. But yeah, what we are doing basically is dipping our brushes after putting it in water so that we have a little bit better shape. You can see now how it should look. So we are dipping it in the gum arabic binder, trying to get off as much as possible, and then just shaping it. And then if you still have a cap for that, put the cap back on. If you have a brush that is ruined like that one, the procedure is the same, but the thing here is that first you will have to be careful with reshaping it. You don't want to bend it too drastically, because then the bristles can break. Those brushes here that arrived damaged, I did get my money back for those, but you still can repair them. Sometimes they will be as good as new, depending on how much the damage is and where the damage is and what kind of hair type, because I have 3 different hair types here. It's rabbit, it's sable, and the white ones are goat. So, just a moment. Of course, different hair types differ in how they behave. That's the first thing. So we are trying to reshape it. I'm trying to bend it only slightly. Like I said, I don't want to damage the bristles, because if you are bending it too much, then it can break. And we will have to do that multiple times to get a good result. So also with those, I try, now there's already getting drier, so it's better to do the reshaping, because the brush will get a little bit stiffer. As you can see, it is better, but it is still bent, and that's the reason why I say we will have to redo this multiple times. Just want to get off the gum arabic from my fingers until we get a good result. Also, very important with Western styled brushes, you normally get a cap that is open on one side. With the calligraphy brushes, those are normally not open. Sometimes they have a little hole, but it's never enough. So what I do is cutting off the end, because I highly recommend not putting those away. Whenever you're using your brush, you're done with your drawing, putting the cap back on. It's an additional protection for your bristles. And also, of course, when we are redoing and reshaping with gum arabic, we are putting this back on. The thing is that with gum arabic, or after coloring, your brush is wet, and if it doesn't have an opening, the humidity can't escape, and then your brushes will mold and are a case for putting it in the trash. So we don't want that, of course. So always have ones that have a big hole so that the humidity can escape good enough. So these brushes, I will recommend letting them like that for 2 to 3 months. Yes, I know it's a long time. That's why I personally say the brushes, the sizes that you are using the most, it's best to have 2 of those, so you can now switch to the other one, use it in the time this is resting. It needs time depending on how badly it was out of shape. I have tried it with only a few days, and I've tried it with like 2 to 3 weeks. It will get better, but it will not get as good and as, or to the state as feeling like you have a new brush with that short amount. 2 to 3 months is definitely the time that is best. So what happens now is that basically we try to reshape the bristles in their correct or original state they were in when you got the brush. The thing is, the hairs get out of shape, not only with the pigment rests that we can wash out, but just from usage. And if you're putting it with gum arabic back in shape and letting it rest for a while, then they will stay that way. So after 2 to 3 months, if I will wash this one out, it will look nearly as a new one, or depending on how bad it was, sometimes it looks completely as it was a new brush. Of course, like I said, I will let it rest for 2 to 3 months, and then I will wash it out, or one time with out of shape is enough. With brushes that are damaged that bad, of course, I will have to reshape it in 2 to 3 months, multiple times. So that will take a long time if they are that badly out of shape. But this one was once as bad as this one. And as you can see, it looks as good as new. I have another one, one of those yellow gold ones. This is with the flower thingy, but I have one without, and the one without was also bent, and there I have still the problem that the tip is slightly bent. I have tried to use it, and you definitely feel it. It behaves differently. So I redone the gum arabic. We'll let it rest now for a while and then wash it out. The thing is that if they are damaged that badly, of course, it can happen that you never will get to the original state. But you still can get them to a point where you can have different usages. Maybe it is not as good that I can say I can do the small thin lines or get to every nook and cranny, but I still can do bigger areas with them. That works fine even with a slightly bent brush. Also, I, for example, do work normally with 2 to 3 brushes at once. I have one just with plain water to wet my area, and then a second one where I have my color, maybe a third one if I do work with 2 different colors at one area at the same time. But for example, the one I'm using just to wet my area, I can use those brushes that are not 100% okay, because I don't have to pre-wet like every nook and cranny. It is okay when I do it a little less detailed, because I can then, when I'm going in with the color brush, doing the small areas. So that works, for example, as well. There are ways to use those brushes even when they are not 100% okay. Like I said, if they are damaged that badly, sometimes you just don't get it to a perfect shape anymore. That is something that can happen. For me now, those, I mean, like I said, I got the money back. If I get them to a point where I can use them, it's a plus. Um, so it's not so bad for me because, like I said, I got the money back. But of course, if they are getting damaged, like for in when you're moving or traveling, and so of course there you don't get your money back. So you want, of course, to get a good result to the point that you say you can use them again. So like I said, those I wash out after 2 to 3 months. You can reuse it. That's why I recommend having at least the brushes that you're using the most, a second pair, so you can let them rest for that 2 to 3 months in use in that time the other one. You can then say after 2 to 3 months you're going back to the main one, or just letting them like that, to use the second one until it got to the point that you have to do the repair thing with the gum arabic and then exchange them back. That is up to you, like you want to do it. Both ways are perfectly okay. With brushes like that, for of course, like I said, resting also 2 to 3 months, then washing out the gum arabic, then trying to redo the reshaping to getting it step by step to a good or very good condition. The brushes I repaired in the past, some of them I had only, when they are only slightly bent, one time I had to do it, sometimes 3 to 4 times or 2 times. So that really depends on how strongly the denting or the damage is. Of course, also the brush hair. The repair with the gum arabic works a lot better with the genuine hair brushes than it works, for example, with the nylon brushes. Like I said, with the synthetic hair, I don't have the experience. If you have, please share. But my personal experience with the nylon brushes is when they are getting to the point that they are that frizzy, even the gum arabic won't help anymore. I have done those. This one, for example, it was like a half a year in gum arabic and it still looks the same. So if they are at a damaging point like these, they just are at the point of basically no repair. So that happens especially with these small brushes because they have less hair here. Of course, if there are 10 hairs that are falling out, that are breaking off, that are getting frizzy, splitty, they won't be able to how do I say that in English? To balance, okay. So to balance out the loss or the damage as good as bigger brushes, because we have a lot more hair here. Of course, 10 hairs lost here is not the same damage than, for example, in a brush that small. So to still have the maximum usage out of brushes at that point, when they are not good enough anymore to use with normal watercolors, I put them in usage with the metallic watercolors, because here the consistency you're normally using to get opaque result is a lot thicker. So the thicker consistency helps to get the brushes to a more stable in shape. So they are better to use with the metallics and glitters than it is with the normal watercolors, because we water them down more, and therefore it is more liquidy. They are moving a lot more than when they have this thick consistency. So then I'm using those for metallics. Those are actually in my box for the metallic brushes. If they got to the point that even for metallics they aren't good enough anymore, I switched them to the box for the acrylic and the gesso and the satin or gloss glazing liquid I'm using to prepare coloring pages with, because they are still good enough for using for the acrylics. I have two sets of acrylic, metallic and chameleon colors, because I've bought them at the point where there were basically no existing chameleon watercolors many years ago. Yeah, they are old. I try to use them up. But for those, they are still working. Then they're wandering off to that box, or for, like I said, gesso and the satin and gloss glazing liquid I'm using to either prepare the page or to seal in, for example, oil pastels. Still usable for that. So yeah, you can use them step by step for different mediums, which helps to get the maximum out of your brushes and to save you a lot of money, for example. So that is just a tip I have, because I'm doing that for many years. It works very well, and therefore normally, like I said, after a year it's not usable for the normal watercolor anymore. That is my experience. And nowadays I'm barely using brushing like that for normal watercolors anymore, because even calligraphy brushes come in various shapes. I even have smaller one than this one here. So I'm normally using those instead of those, but I have used them for decades, so I do have a lot of experience with the longevity that way, and therefore, like I said, mostly after a year, those small nylon brushes were just not good anymore. Small brushes with genuine hair are a different thing, because genuine hair is a lot, the longevity is a lot longer, and you can repair it with the gum arabic a lot better than those one. So those work definitely for a longer time. I do have two or so smaller ones with genuine sable hair from Da Vinci, by the way. So those I have for many years. They are still good in shape. I don't use them as often, of course, as I have those, but still they are definitely, their longevity is better. So nylon brushes have the lowest longevity in my personal experience, especially the small ones. Like I said, genuine hair brushes, they can last you for a very long time if you do care good enough for them. The most important thing is with all brushes, like I said, the storage. Do the storage right, so the bristles don't get damaged. Best to use one brush dedicated to get your colors out, so that your tips and the outer areas of your brushes are prevented from getting damaged from hitting the walls of the pans or the color. Cleaning it every once in a while with brush soap, so that you get the residue that sticks in the bristles out, which you're not getting out with just washing it out in water. And then if it really gets frizzy and really out of shape, reshaping it with gum arabic, letting it rest for a while so that it has time to get back in shape. If you're washing it out too soon, it will just have the same form that it had before, but if it will stick to that like 2 to 3 months, for example, the hair basically got bent back in that form, and if you are washing it out, it will stay that way. So therefore, that way your brushes really will hold you for a very, very long time, especially, like I said, the genuine hair brushes. Like I said, I don't have the experience with the synthetic hair, but I think they will be similar to the hair that they are imitating. Probably not exactly like that. I'm not sure if the longevity is that long with those, but I do know that they are definitely a lot better in the longevity as the nylon brushes, for example. So yeah, those are basically the things I highly recommend to doing to get the damage your brushes take as less as possible, and to also extend the longevity of your brush so that you can use it for as long as possible. That is all the things I do for many years. And my oldest brushes are like 30 years old and still working very well. So yeah, I would say definitely I have tested it long enough to say it works. And I know from other people that doing the same, that they are also saying, since they're doing that, their brushes hold so much longer. So yeah, I would really, really like to hear your personal opinions or experiences. What brush types do you prefer? What have you done in the past to extend your longevity of your brushes, or to care for your brushes, and hopefully also that you learned something from that video. What maybe you will change after seeing the video in your brush care and your repair. I would absolutely love to hear. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, a thumbs up or a follow is highly appreciated because it helps me in the channel so much. So thank you so much for that as well. And I really hope you have a wonderful day, and to see you soon in one of my other videos. Until then, take good care of yourself. Thank you so much for watching, and have a wonderful day. Bye bye.